Well, I think that it's interesting that you raise the point that what's at issue here and underlies the whole basis of the rights discussion is that one set of people cannot take away from another set of people the rights that they have. And I think that one of the problems in the way that you pose this entire discussion is this assumption that fetuses, that embryos, are a class of persons, whereas I'd regard them in an entirely different way. And I think that the way that it's more helpful for us to look at this discussion is not to perhaps posit the question of whether fetuses are human or not human. They're obviously human, they're obviously living. The question isn't even whether we give them value or whether we don't give them value, because I think that I can completely accord the notion of the fetus having value and agree with that. The point is how much value do we accord it relative to the woman who is carrying that fetus when the issue is really presented in a way where that woman feels that she needs to, wants to, feels that it's morally right for her to end that particular pregnancy, because we're not in a situation under these circumstances where we're talking about simply an abstract situation of the balance between two living entities. We're talking about a situation where someone who is clearly a person with rights that must be respected is taking a decision about something which is indistinct from the integrity of her own life. And so I think that you have to think quite carefully how you think that the rights of embryos and fetuses can in any way be exercised except through the woman who is carrying them, and indeed what gives you the right, or indeed anyone else the right, to stand between a woman, a potential mother, and that decision about the child that she would otherwise bring into the world, which is really why I always throw the argument back to one of who decides and who makes that moral decision, since we are not talking about two people who are both cognizant of what's going on. This is not a situation where you're talking about slave owners versus slaves, or men versus women, or even adults versus children. You're talking about the views of a woman as against the beating heart of something that doesn't even know that it's alive yet. To my mind, you can accord that embryo and fetus value, but it need not be the equivalent value to that of a woman.